The Royal Rumble is a PLE that happens every January and marks the start of the road to WrestleMania. And it has been my favorite PLE because so many unexpected things can happen. However, since I'm a youngster, I wanted to go back to 1988 and watch every single Royal Rumble that has happened. And this video took me 2 months to make, the longest I have ever spent on a YouTube video. Will this challenge break me? Will I give up on this challenge halfway through? Or will I stop watching wrestling forever? Probably not. Well, join me, dear viewer, as I watch all 37 men's Royal Rumbles. Because the greatest Royal Rumble does not count. Starting in 1988, the Royal Rumble was being hosted in Hamilton, Ontario, which is really cool because I'm from Canada. It was the first of its kind, so it was very unique, but also very, very boring. Guys did not know what they were doing. They were entering into the Rumble. They wouldn't even have a hot spot, and they would just find someone in the corner and then just join them. They would just start beating on them. There was also like 20 people in this Rumble, so it was really, really fast, but it just like nothing happened. And I realized this video would be very boring if I just said, all right, this guy eliminated this guy, and then this guy eliminated this guy. So what I did is I created 4 categories in which I would rank these Rumbles based off of. And each of these categories is going to be scored out of 5. So in total, it'll be 20 points per Royal Rumble. The first category is going to be originality / creativity. Initially, I had these as 2 different categories, but then once you start to think about it, originality and creativity, they're kind of the same thing. Plus, if there was nothing original for that year's Rumble, it would just be a score of 0, which is really boring. This one is going to get a 2 because this was the first Royal Rumble to ever exist. They wanted you to know the rules to a T. So Vince McMahon, he was just repeating the rules. They had the ref repeat the rules. Later on in later Rumbles, we would eventually get a graphic, but in these early Rumbles, it was just repetition, repetition, repetition. Classic WWE style. And honestly, I was expecting a simple format. I was expecting entrant, get into the ring, entrant, get into the ring. But early on, they were still trying different things. And it was really only one spot. Don Morocco came out and someone was brawling with him all the way to the ring. And then Don just entered the ring and the other guy just walked to the back. So it was like, first the ring wins, and and that was it. And interestingly, at the end of the Rumble, it was 2 heels versus a babyface, a pattern that would actually be repeated in Rumbles to follow. So it was Jim Duggan in the corner, and then there was One Man Gang and Dino Bravo cornering him, and they were like, hey, let's get him. The second category is going to be match quality. So what did I actually think about the wrestling in the match? This is only going to get a 1, simply because there was a couple of heavy hitters in there. There was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, there was Bret Hart, there was the Ultimate Warrior, but the Rumble wasn't established yet. Like, the big superstars didn't want to be in the Rumble. They had their own matches on the Royal Rumble card, so we had a bunch of jobbers, we had a couple mid-carders, and then we had maybe 1 main eventer. The third category is going to be the right winner category. I don't really know what to title this other than the right winner category, but you understand. It's actually going to be a 5 for me. I'm going to say that Hacksaw Jim Duggan was absolutely the right winner. That was amazing. It was so much fun to do. He was the only entrant where the crowd actually went nuts for, and the whole entire time they were hot for him. And the final category is going to be the entertainment value category. It's just if I liked it or not. And this is completely subjective. It is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Of course, most of the points are because this was the first Rumble that I watched out of this whole entire series. If this was placed in the 2010s, it would be about a 1, maybe a 0.5. But let me just say, Jesse the Body Ventura, the first time I heard him on commentary was on Saturday Night's Main Event last month. But this dude was hilarious, even back in the day. He was talking about how one of the entrants sold him tacos in Venezuela. I had no idea what he was saying. Like, you know when like you're just taken aback by what someone says, you're like, you could say that on TV? At the time, yeah, you could. But overall, the 1988 Royal Rumble gets a score of 10.5 out of 20. Coming up next is the 1989 Royal Rumble. And this was definitely an improvement in some areas and a downgrade in others. Mainly because in this Rumble, there were more stars rather than only jobbers. Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man were all entrants here. WWF also added an extra 10 guys to this Rumble. Vince had no idea what to do with the remaining 10 guys. For originality and creativity, it is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. The one thing that I love about Royal Rumbles is the advancement in storylines. And if you guys remember, or if you're old enough to remember the 1989 Rumble, this was the Mega Powers Royal Rumble. This was actually the start of the Mega Powers breakup because late into the Rumble, Hulk eliminated both Macho Man and some other guy, but Miss Elizabeth had to come and break Macho Man and Hogan up because they were arguing in the ring. I thought we were like this, brother. Also, Vince booking at its finest. Andre the Giant, he came out. Everyone was like, oh, how are you going to eliminate Andre? And the way that he got eliminated from this Rumble is that Jake the Snake got eliminated earlier in the Rumble, and then Jake the Snake came out later on with his snake, and Andre got so scared of the snake that he eliminated himself. This is so silly. I want to keep my big guy strong, pal. For match quality, again, this is gonna get about a 1. It just wasn't a great Rumble. Most of the match was guys trying to eliminate each other by pushing and shoving against the ropes, and even when a new guy came out, he didn't have a massive momentum spot. He just joined one of the skirmishes, exactly like the year before. We got to see early Shawn Michaels here in this Rumble. This was his first ever Rumble. He looked so cool, overselling. Just his style was so good. But for the right winner category, this is going to get a 4. It's the most amount of points I'm going to give to this Rumble because yeah, I would say Big John Studd was a great winner here. However, you could have made a case for DiBiase. For entertainment value, this is going to get about a 2. I was very bored during this Rumble. There was, again, those spots that I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But that's the most of my excitement. So overall, the 1989 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 9.5 out of 20. The 1990 Royal Rumble, the WWF started to get really smart because just like the previous year, they realized, oh shoot, we can actually progress stories through the Rumble. Hogan and Warrior had to stare down late into the Rumble, which led to their match at WrestleMania 6. Booking was so simple back then. You could just stare at a guy and you got a WrestleMania match. For originality and creativity, this is going to get about a 2. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, took the hard route this time and came out at number 1 instead of number 30 from the previous year and lasted all the way until about number 18. And my only problem with this Royal Rumble is that for the first maybe 10 entrants, it's so interesting, right? There's all of the creativity just gets pushed into there, and then the creativity doesn't come back until like the final 5. For the match quality, this is actually going to get about a 3, which sounds crazy. As I said, for the first 10 entrants or so, it was so entertaining, and then past entrant number 20, it started to get interesting once again with Neidhart and the Ultimate Warrior entering. Once the top talent entered the Rumble, it got so good because you can see the difference in the wrestling style. Hogan, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, they are just so clean with their wrestling as compared to the jobbers that are out there maybe in year 1 or year 2 of their wrestling career. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5. This was Hulk Hogan's Royal Rumble, and it was so clear that he was going to win because he was so over at the time. His entrance, pop. Every elimination, pop. Anytime he would do one of these, pop. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 3. As I said, early, late, this was a really good Royal Rumble. But in that middle bit, I was like, should I skip? No, I shouldn't skip. All right, I'll watch it. So overall, the 1990 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 13 out of 20. The 1991 Rumble was boring. There was maybe 2 things that interested me before Hulk Hogan got out there. And even then, nothing happened until like the final 3. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 1. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 0 is because Hulk Hogan won, making him the first superstar to win 2 Rumbles in a row. No new concepts, no new spots, just a guy comes out, attacks one of the guys in the corner, and joins in on the shuffle. Also, another weird thing that happened, Macho Man was supposed to come out, and he didn't. And this was never explained. I looked it up on Wikipedia to even just see like, hey, what happened here? Nothing Nothing happened. Match quality, this is going to get a 1. I am not kidding when I say that for 95% of this Royal Rumble, nothing happened. And the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 because Hulk Hogan, yeah, he was still incredibly over in 1991. Plus, he was going into a match at that year's WrestleMania versus Sergeant Slaughter, so he needed some momentum because at the time, the Royal Rumbles didn't give you anything at WrestleMania, so it was just a momentum boost. And finally, for entertainment value, this is going to get a 1. This was the first Rumble for The Undertaker, and The Undertaker just didn't have a good showing. Like, he was so cool to see. Of course, Undertaker, my GOAT, but only 14 minutes for The Undertaker is insane. Even though this was his first Royal Rumble, doesn't matter. You should have given him more time. Also, again, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh, hilarious. Overall, the 1991 Royal Rumble gets a score of 8 out of 20. As opposed to the 1991 Royal Rumble, the 1992 Royal Rumble was fun. This was the first Royal Rumble to have some sort of stakes by putting the WWF Championship on the line. Ric Flair, who entered in at number 3, survived until the end, winning the whole thing. Also, fun fact, the Shawn Michaels and Jannetty turn happened 1 week before the Rumble, which you could hear boos all around for Shawn Michaels. For originality and creativity, I am going to give this a 3, with the big creative spot coming in the middle when Rick eliminated a few members to be the only one in the ring. This is the first time that this has happened in a Royal Rumble, where a guy just eliminates everyone around him and stands tall in the middle. And the commentators kept saying that nobody in the top 5 has ever won the Royal Rumble, which it was very obvious who was going to win this Rumble then. For match quality, I am going to give this a 2. Not a horrible score, but it's not a top tier Royal Rumble yet. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 out of 5 because Ric Flair, no one's ever told me how good of a heel he was. I know he was a good heel, but he was a really good heel. He was so good at doing the please don't hurt me, the thing that Dominic Mysterio does nowadays. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Again, seeing Ric Flair, old Shawn Michaels, and his selling The Undertaker in his second year of the WWF, it was all fun. Also, Savage, dude, he was so good. He eliminated Jake the Snake, and he hated Jake so much that Savage leaped over the top rope and just started pounding on Jake. I'm pretty sure Savage didn't mean to do that because they let him back into the Rumble. So yeah, like, guys, we're still getting used to the Royal Rumble format. It was tough. But overall, the 1992 Royal Rumble gets a score of 12.5 out of 20. The 1993 Royal Rumble was the first Rumble where the winner got a title shot at WrestleMania. And since there was only one title at the time in the WWF, the winner of this Rumble was going to go on to face Bret Hart. What I will say is that when there's actually something on the line in a Royal Rumble, it is way better to watch. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a score of 3.5 out of 5. Of course, most of this score is going to be because the idea to put the WrestleMania Challenger spot on the line has impacted every single Royal Rumble up until this point. Literally, just these past 2 years with Cody Rhodes winning back-to-back Rumbles in order to face Roman Reigns was because of this decision back in 1993. But since creativity is also a part of this category, it's going to get docked some points because of Giant Gonzalez. If you know, you know. This was a horrible spot in this Rumble. If you don't know, then Giant Gonzalez randomly showed up in the middle of this Rumble to eliminate The Undertaker. And this was one of the first times that Taker showed some sort of weakness during his WWF run. There was just one problem. Giant Gonzalez wasn't in the Rumble. He just walked out there to have his WWF debut. This was literally his debut. And I get it, the Giant does what he wants. But this was dumb. Some people criticized this ending, but honestly, guys, I really loved it. I don't know, like, when I was looking on different forums about this Rumble, people were like, don't even mention the 1993 Royal Rumble. And I'm like, guys, what was wrong with this? This was hilarious. Again, if you don't know what happened, basically Yokozuna and Macho Man were in the final 2. And Macho Man thought a way that you can eliminate somebody is by pinning them. And Macho Man pinned Yokozuna, but Yokozuna, because he's a giant, kicked out at 1 or 2, and Macho Man went flying over the top rope and eliminated himself. So for match quality, I am going to give this a 2.5. Very mid, with some slight changes in match format. The wrestling style was starting to improve slowly but surely, but still, big punches means big impact. For the correct winner, I am actually going to give this a 3. Yoko was a good winner in this Rumble, but you could have easily made a case for Savage. You could have easily made a case for Bob Backlund because of how hot he was back then. And for entertainment value, I'm going to say a 2.5 out of 5. I was entertained. Don't get me wrong. Something was always happening in the match with different key spots, but around number 20, it just got a little too boring, which is why I'm only going to give it a very mid score. But overall, the 1993 Royal Rumble gets a score of 11.5 out of 20. The 1994 Royal Rumble, I don't even know where to start with this mess. First off, after 5 Royal Rumbles without Vince on commentary, then to suddenly hear him with his garbage calls, it was such a pleasure to hear Bobby the Brain Heenan on commentary for the past 3 Rumbles. Then all of a sudden you get Vince and it's like, I want to mute this so badly. But let's actually get into why I don't like this Rumble. And I am going to switch it up. I'm going to start with the right winner category. And this is actually going to be a 1. Literally because there was not a winner. So what happened later on is that Bret Hart and Lex Luger ended up eliminating each other. They fell out of the ring at the exact same time. They both won. Wow. And I think this is my TikTok brain, but they took so long to figure out who the winner was because one of the refs would lift up Bret Hart's hand and the crowd would just go crazy. And then for 5 minutes, Bret Hart was celebrating and his music was playing. And then the music died down and everyone's like, wait, what happened? Lex Luger's hand would get raised and his music would start playing. Oh my God. Vince literally could not decide a winner, so he chose both of them. This is garbage. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2. The biggest issue with this was filling pay-per-view time. So there was a minute and a half between entrants and there was still 15 minutes left of the pay-per-view time. So they just had to fill it with just nonsense. And if you guys thought that the Rhea versus Liv storyline is going on for way too long, Marty Jannetty, he got turned on by Shawn back in January of 1992, and it is now 1994, and Marty still hates Shawn. But here is actually where we started to see the progression of the Shawn and Diesel alliance. They ended up handshaking later on in the match in order to create a mini alliance in the Rumble, which would eventually lead to their alliance later on. For the match quality, this is going to get a 2.5. Guys in corners hitting each other. Bret also being an underdog with his limp definitely made me question how long he was going to last. But other than that, this was a very generic Royal Rumble. For entertainment, this is going to get a 1.5. I hate when there isn't a decisive winner in a Royal Rumble. Overall, the 1994 Royal Rumble gets a score of 7 out of 20. The 1995 Royal Rumble is by far my favorite Royal Rumble so far. You know how Liv Morgan in recent Royal Rumbles has just been, she's just so close. She's just number 2 in every single Royal Rumble that she's in. That's how Shawn felt in Rumbles before this, and now Shawn finally got his due. Also, another insufferable year of Vince commentary. It sucked. It's really bad. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 3.5. It felt like the WWF was really transitioning during this time because Hogan, Macho Man, they weren't in this Rumble. It was also so cool when the British Bulldog and Shawn Michaels entered in at number 1 and number 2. And at 2 different spots, they were the only 2 guys in the ring. They would eliminate everybody else and they'd be like, oh, you're still in here. For match quality, this is going to get a 3.5 out of 5. This gets a slightly higher score because the short entrances fit with the timing of the wrestling. You know, today is flips, spots. They need a little bit more time in between entrants in order to get all of this stuff in a minute 30. Also, very small tangent, but these old heads, they talk about, super kicks, super slapping of the leg. You guys, all you did back then was this. When there was a guy facing away from you, it was just, For the right winner, this is Shawn's here. It gets a 5. And for entertainment, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Again, definitely a very mid Royal Rumble, but there was a lot of key moments that made this a mid Rumble. Overall, the 1995 Royal Rumble gets a score of 14.5 out of 20. The 1996 Royal Rumble was decent. It did have a very special ending, with Shawn Michaels winning his second Rumble in a row. He would go on to beat the WWF champion Bret Hart at WrestleMania in a 60-minute Iron Man match, capturing his first WWF championship. But this Rumble saw a lot of debuts of certain talent. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, this was his first Royal Rumble, and the Ringmaster Steve Austin? What? For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. The main story of this match was, can the boy who dreamed achieve his Royal Rumble win again, and can he go on to win the WWF Championship at WrestleMania? Match quality, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5, with the new wrestlers coming in being top stars of the Attitude Era. It was really cool just to see where they started off as, what their wrestling style was back then, and how it would evolve over the years. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5. I am going to say it once again, Shawn, the correct winner here. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 2. I watched this Rumble really late at night. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but for most of this Rumble, I really wasn't entertained other than, oh, that's Steve Austin. So overall, the 1996 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 12 out of 20. The 1997 Royal Rumble was useless. Let me start off with some positives. We got to see the first Royal Rumble match with Stone Cold Steve Austin instead of the Ringmaster Steve Austin. Also, Stone Cold won, which was an amazing idea, getting 10 eliminations, including The Undertaker and Vader. And it was clear why Stone Cold was getting this push. It was because that during this year, the Austin 316 promo happened. So Vince was just like, all right, let's just push this guy to the moon. However, the follow-up to this Royal Rumble was just stupid. You'll see what I mean. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2, because the idea was cool, but the payoff just was so bad. Basically, Stone Cold got eliminated from the Rumble by Bret Hart, but the refs didn't see, so he slid back in and eliminated Bret Hart. Bret then just got upset at the ref, saying he was the real winner. And the concept sounds cool, right? But how would you, the viewer, follow this up? You can either have a match at the next pay-per-view for the Royal Rumble spot, or you can make it a triple threat at WrestleMania. But let me read this out as to what happened. First off, the next night on Raw, Shawn Michaels vacated the WWF Championship. Due to this and the controversial situation that happened, Stone Cold, Bret Hart, The Undertaker, and Vader were pitted against each other at In Your House 13 for the vacant WWF Championship, which saw Bret Hart win the title. And so just a quick pause. What normally would happen here is, okay, Stone Cold versus Bret Hart for the championship. That sounds good. The next night on Raw, Austin interfered in a WWF title match between Hart and Sid, causing Hart to lose the title only after one day. Then on another episode of Raw, Hart and Sid Vicious faced off in a steel cage match for the WWF title. Sid won after interference by both Stone Cold and The Undertaker. And at WrestleMania 13, The Undertaker defeated Sid for the WWF title, while Hart and Austin battled each other in a submission match with Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. So the winner of the Rumble didn't get a title match at WrestleMania. For match quality, this is going to get a 3. This mainly gets a 3 because we got to see the GOATs of our generation wrestle in the style that would carry them into the 2000s. For the right winner category, this is actually going to get a 4 because you could coin flip whether Bret Hart or Steve Austin should have won this Rumble, but the payoff was garbage. I'm not going to count the payoff in this score. So the right winner, yeah, this is going to get a 4. And as for entertainment value, this does get a 3, a solid 3. I was actively talking about this match with my wife that was watching this with me, and we were both engaged. We were both entertained in this Rumble. So the 1997 Royal Rumble gets a score of 12 out of 20. The 1998 Royal Rumble was really boring until Stone Cold came out. But starting off with some positives, Rocky Maivia was heel Rock at this point, erupting the crowd when The Rock and Stone Cold were in the final 2. This was also the 3rd time in history when a person won back-to-back Rumbles, being achieved first by Hulk Hogan and second by Shawn Michaels. Mankind also came out at one point and got eliminated, but then Dude Love eventually entered the Rumble, which was hilarious. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5, mainly because the ending was just so good. This was the first time that the WWF realized that having 2 stars in the final 2 was a good thing, so I hope that they continue that going forward. For match quality, this is going to get a 1.5 out of 5. It just really wasn't that good. The only good entrant, as I said, was Stone Cold, and the crowd just erupted for Stone Cold. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5. Stone Cold winning his second Rumble in a row was just so good. And this would lead to the WrestleMania match of Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold, the one where Stone Cold won his first WWF Championship. And as for entertainment value, this gets a mid score of 2.5 out of 5. The 0.5 just comes from the commentary because Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross were the only two on commentary. Let's go. But in total, the 1998 Royal Rumble gets a score of 11.5 out of 20. The 1999 Rumble was incredible until the winner. During this time, the Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold feud was white hot. And Mr. McMahon said that anybody that eliminates Stone Cold from the Rumble gets $100,000. Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon would start off the Rumble, but Mr. McMahon would bait Stone Cold into the bathroom where the corporation was waiting to beat up Stone Cold. And as Steve Austin was being ambulanced out to a local medical facility, Stone Cold then hijacked the ambulance and drove it back to the arena and entered back into the Rumble because technically he wasn't eliminated. And then in the final two, of course, it was Steve Austin versus Mr. McMahon, where Mr. McMahon would win because of a distraction from The Rock. So yeah, for originality and creativity, I have to give this a 4.5 because there was a story throughout the whole entire Rumble. For match quality, this is going to lose a little bit of points at a 3. Of course, there was still some downtime and there was still some goofiness. For the right winner, I have to give this a 1 because of the aftermath. So the next night on Raw, Mr. McMahon came out and forfeited his WrestleMania spot. But Shawn Michaels, who was the WWF commissioner at the time, came out and said, actually, if the winner of the Rumble forfeits the position, then the runner-up gets the WrestleMania spot. And so then Stone Cold and The Rock face off against each other at WrestleMania, which is not bad. But clearly Vince McMahon knew the rules of the Rumble. So did he just book himself to win the Rumble because he wanted to win a Rumble? Because imagine the pop that Stone Cold would have gotten if he won 3 Rumbles in a row. You could have literally made history right there. As for entertainment value, this is going to get a 4. Throughout most of the Rumble, I was thoroughly entertained. Again, except for those small downtime moments. But with the story, with just the stakes that were on the line with the $100,000, it was just a really good Rumble. So overall, the 1999 Royal Rumble is going to get a 12.5 out of 20. The 2000s Royal Rumble, you can basically just rename this Rumble to The Rock's Royal Rumble. This was the very first Royal Rumble where we actually got a "we want Rocky," right? It was the first ever time that chant got started in the Rumble. And finally, when The Rock did come out, he was eliminating people left, right, and center. And the only issue that I have with some Royal Rumbles around this time is that Vince McMahon got really lazy with the entrance 10 through 20, just stacking up the Rumble so that eventually when the white hot babyface comes out at number 25, 23, they can just eliminate most of the people in that ring. This was also the very clear change of generations because we got to see some returns from Bob Backlund where the crowd was like, whoa, he's back? For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 3, mainly because there was 2 very creative spots within this Rumble. One obviously being The Rock with his entrance, but then also there was a dance number with Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hotty. As for the match quality, I am going to give this a 3 because Rikishi in the early parts of this Rumble was completely dominant, and then towards the end, of course, The Rock, he just completely tore it up in there. As for the right winner, this gets a 5 out of 5. The Rock was completely the right winner here. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 3. This was the peak Attitude Era, and so all of the guys in there were the stars of the Attitude Era. Again, The Rock being the big name in there. That's why I say that this is The Rock's Royal Rumble. Overall, the 2000s Royal Rumble is going to get a 14 out of 20. Interestingly, the 2001 Royal Rumble is actually my favorite Rumble so far. First off, the production was incredibly upgraded. Like, you really got to see what the Attitude Era did for the WWE, the Rumble started off with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was just entering the WWE, and Matt Hardy would then come out third, and they would just brawl it out. They eliminated themselves as well. And Drew Carey also came out, and then after he came out, Jeff and Matt Hardy eliminated themselves. So Drew Carey was like, yeah, I'm gonna win the Rumble. Of course, the classic celebrity entrance. And then, of course, Kane was the next entrant in the Rumble. You can kind of guess what happened after that. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. Being able to see Kane and The Undertaker team up was just amazing. Also, when Stone Cold came out towards the end of the Rumble, Triple H actually came out and just started beating on Stone Cold, which was a really good thing that Triple H did this, actually. I normally don't like when people that are not in the Rumble interfere, but I liked it here because it set up a future storyline for these two. Plus, it also nerfed Stone Cold because he was just so OP. For match quality, this is going to get a 4 because there were so many good 1v1s where we got Kane versus Stone Cold, we got The Big Show versus The Rock, and we also got The Rock versus Stone Cold. For the right winner, this is going to get a 4.5 because clearly Stone Cold was the right winner, but The Rock, you could have made a case for him as well. It was honestly a toss-up. Do you want The Rock to win 2 Rumbles in a row, or do you want Stone Cold to win yet another one? For entertainment value, this is going to get a 4 because I wasn't really that bored during this Rumble. Maybe some small spots of boredom, but nothing to really write home about. In every single Rumble, there is going to be bored spots when you start to watch so many Rumbles in a row. I watched all of these within like a week span. So yeah, at this point I was bored, but the fact that this one stood out means a lot. So overall, the 2001 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 16.5 out of 20. The 2002 Royal Rumble. Gee, I had no idea who was going to win this one. You can tell that Triple H was in his reign of terror era because he got the entrance of a lifetime. Lights, smoke, presented like he was the best thing that this company had to offer. But I swear, when the Rumble started, I was so ready to trash on this. It started with Goldust and Rikishi, and I have nothing against those guys nowadays, but my gosh, it was so boring. Then the Big Boss Man came in and Lance Storm, and I was like, what is going on with this Rumble? But then Taker came out at number 8, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing the big babyface thing. They're stacking up the ring with jobbers so that Taker can come in and just eliminate everybody. But then, of course, this was the Rumble that we all know as the Maven Royal Rumble spot. And that is why, for originality and creativity, I am going to give this a 3, with most of the points going to Triple H's entrance, and of course, the Maven spot, as I just said, which should have been the WrestleMania match. I'm gonna die on this hill. And also Stone Cold going crazy when he got eliminated. That was hilarious too. For match quality, of course, I'm gonna give this a 4. For the right winner category, this is gonna get a 4.5. Triple H was by far the right winner. However, you could have made a case for Kurt Angle, but again, this was Triple H's Rumble. He was the definitive winner here. And for entertainment, this is gonna get a 4. I ended up taking off 1 point because at the beginning of this Rumble was really bad, and then it started to really ramp up towards the middle and then the end. So overall, the 2002 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 15.5 out of 20. The 2003 Royal Rumble, I'm going to be honest, guys, this was just not doing it for me. It was really mid. Starting off with some positives, Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels was so much fun in this Rumble. Seeing Ray and Edge in the Rumble was awesome as well. The Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, walking to the ring and freestyling. I've never actually heard him freestyle like that before, and I call myself a John Cena fan. But I did see him beat the Nexus. Oh! But the Rumble didn't really heat up until Batista, Brock Lesnar, and Taker ended up joining. And judging by the crowd reaction, Taker should have won. But clearly Brock Lesnar was just being pushed and pushed, just shoved down the audience's throat. And of course, he would go on to win the WWE Championship at WrestleMania versus Kurt Angle. For originality and creativity, this is gonna get a 2. Nothing really huge happened other than the first alliance and then immediate turn on happening, which was Taker and Kane. They shook hands, and then immediately after, Taker just throws Kane out. As for match quality, this is gonna get a 4 out of 5. All of these Rumbles, they just get high match qualities because they were just all so good. And please don't crucify me, but But I am very new here. The one reason why I wanted to do this challenge is so that I can go back and watch a lot of the greats, as a lot of you guys say, and now adding to my list of greats like Ric Flair, Bret Hart. I'm now adding Eddie Guerrero to that list because he is just so good. Why didn't no one tell me? For the right winner category, I am going to give this a 4. Once again, Brock was the right winner, but you could have made a case for Taker because Taker was really over. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 2. There was a lot of small spots that I loved, again, with Eddie Guerrero, like with Taker, but other than those two guys, I wasn't really too interested in this Rumble. So overall, the 2003 Royal Rumble is gonna get a score of 12 out of 20. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been such a fun Royal Rumble video so far, but I do have to make a very quick disclaimer here. If you know this Rumble, then you know what I'm going to say, but since I have to cover every single men's Royal Rumble, I do have to cover the 2004 Royal Rumble, which shows Chris Benoit. And he does get shown for the next couple of Rumbles as well. So I will put a timestamp on this screen in case you do want to skip anything relating to Chris Benoit. But I also will say that I do have to cover Chris Benoit from an in-ring standpoint as a performer. So I do have to say some positive things about him. Please don't take me out of context. I'm talking about the performer and not the person himself. Let's get into this. The 2004 Royal Rumble, better production because of more money. The guys that were on top when I started watching were just now getting in on the ground floor. Randy Orton, John Cena. But going into this Rumble, there was one of two people that was going to win. It was either going to be Kurt Angle or Chris Benoit. Kurt Angle was a monster during this time. And of course, Chris Benoit, who was the underdog of this Rumble, starting off at number 1 and winning the whole entire thing, which hasn't been done since Shawn Michaels. And just to show you how over Chris Benoit was, at WrestleMania, he beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels in a triple threat for the WWF Championship. That is insane. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2. One of the only great things that really happened in this Rumble was Chris Benoit winning from the number 1 position. And this year, they also added the WrestleMania sign, which would eventually become really iconic later on. For match quality, this is going to get a 3 because once again, this Attitude Era of wrestling just has above average wrestling, and we really saw that here in this Rumble. For the right winner category, I do have to give this a 4 because again, Chris Benoit was the right winner, but the crowd was really dead for a lot of this Rumble until Kurt Angle came out later on. Also, being able to do the Angle Slam on the Big Show, that's insane. As for entertainment value, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. Seeing my childhood heroes now getting started off in the Rumble, it was so cool. It was really, really cool. A little bit of nostalgia for me. So overall, the 2004 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 13 out of 20. The 2005 Royal Rumble created so many iconic moments. One of the moments will be shown in every single Royal Rumble montage that's out there. This is a moment where Batista is lifted into an attitude adjustment. Batista ends up countering into a Batista bomb, but then they both somehow stumble and get out of the ring and they fall to the floor at the exact same time. And then Vince McMahon comes out, slides into the ring, tears both of his quads, and then he's just sitting there angry, not even reacting to what just happened, and then basically says, we're restarting the final 2. Then, of course, Batista ends up actually winning the Rumble because that was what was supposed to happen. The second moment actually happened when the Royal Rumble was over, because in the Rumble, Ric Flair, this was when Evolution was still together. Ric Flair was in the Rumble and he tried to eliminate Batista, but then went, no, I'm sorry. Basically exactly what he did back in 1992. And then this created the infamous Batista choosing who he wants to face at WrestleMania. And that's when he does the thumbs down to Triple H, indicating that he's going to face Triple H at WrestleMania. So I was so enthralled by the story that I actually forgot to tell you guys what the score was for originality / creativity, and it ended up being a 5. For match quality, this is going to get a 4. Once again, seeing Batista, Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, John Cena. Yeah, this match was stacked. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5. It cemented Batista as a forever main eventer. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 4.5 out of 5. I've really literally said everything I need to say about this Rumble. Everything was just so good about it. Again, small moments of downtime, but those are meant just to recharge the crowd for later on. So overall, the 2005 Royal Rumble gets a score of 18.5 out of 20. The 2006 Royal Rumble was honestly a tribute match to Eddie Guerrero. Starting off, the match was Rey Mysterio versus Triple H, and of course, ending the Royal Rumble was Triple H and Rey Mysterio. And it was a pretty decent Rumble, but just nothing to write home about. It was just a really good, feel-good Royal Rumble. For originality and creativity, I am gonna give this a 3 because a lot of these points are gonna go over towards Rey Mysterio winning because of the whole Eddie thing, but there's so many pet peeves here. One of the things, again, and I've said this a couple of times, is I hate when somebody who's not in the Rumble comes and disrupts the Rumble. It's like, just become an entrant. And that happened with Shane McMahon. Now, let me say this. I understand that you're supposed to hate a heel. I get it. But when something just feels so bad, I don't think that that's being a good heel. I think that's just really bad booking. Vince McMahon was walking down to the ring and Shawn Michaels got distracted like a babyface does. Then while Shawn was distracted, Shane McMahon enters the ring, eliminates Shawn Michaels, but Shane McMahon never entered in as an entrant. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, we got him. He's mad. We got him. For match quality, this is going to get a 4. Once again, during this Attitude Era, transitioning into a PG era level of wrestling, it was just all so good. And for the right winner category, this is going to get a 5. Rey Mysterio was the right winner. Nothing more to say than that. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 2.5 out of 5. It was just a very mid, I was like, it's a Rumble. So overall, the 2006 Royal Rumble gets a score of 14.5 out of 20. The 2007 Royal Rumble was, in my opinion, the second best Royal Rumble match of all time. Ric Flair was just about to end his career. King Booker was in there. CM Punk making his Royal Rumble debut over from ECW. But the crown jewel of it all, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in the final 2. This was their first match up until this point, and this would eventually lead to the WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 25. But these guys, they just put on a masterclass of wrestling, which is actually not my words, it's JBL's words on commentary. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 4.5. It was a damn near perfect Royal Rumble with just some small moments of boredom just for me personally. The tag champs were just displayed beautifully. The filler guys weren't in there for too long taking up time. We got a beautiful representation from all 3 WWE brands, which was ECW, Raw, and SmackDown. And 2 main ECW stars did not get buried. CM Punk and RVD both having great displays in this Rumble. For match quality, this is going to get a 5. You can't rank it anything less than a 5, considering what the ending was. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 4.5. The Undertaker winning was the correct decision, but you could have made a case for Shawn. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 5. I know I said I was bored just a little bit, but I feel like every single Rumble is going to have some boredom. So overall, the 2007 Royal Rumble gets a score of 19 out of 20. The 2008 Royal Rumble emanated from MSG. And this is the Rumble that you guys know as the really cool entrances, but then also the John Cena moment. John Cena returned from injury way too soon, way sooner than expected. The final 3 during this Rumble, the crowd just came unglued. John Cena returns, he lifts up his head, the crowd goes crazy. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 4, mainly because of the ending, but also because this was a Rumble where a lot of the old cats were coming back from 90s and just trying to make a little bit of an appearance. Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka, they looked like some old farts in there, and they just gave it all they got. And of course, they got eliminated by Kane. Kane just eliminates all these old guys. Also starting off the Rumble was Undertaker and Shawn. I feel like Vince McMahon, he likes to be very patient with when he likes to capitalize on these star matches. And we get to see it here. In the last Rumble, Shawn and Taker win the final two. Maybe he wanted to test out Shawn and Taker as the first two for this Rumble. Match quality, this is going to get a 4. I've been saying this basically for every single one of these Rumbles. You can't give it anything less than a 4. The right winner category, this is going to get a 4 as well. While John Cena was the right winner here, you could have made a case for Triple H. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 3 out of 5. I was bored during the middle of this Rumble, but once again came unglued when John Cena came out at number 30. So overall, the 2008 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 15 out of 20. This is going to be a quick one, guys. The 2009 Royal Rumble was interesting because we really were moving on from the Attitude Era into the 2010 style WWE, which a lot of people don't love. This was Legacy's Royal Rumble. If you don't know what Legacy was, then it was Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr., all sons of WWF greats, coming together and forming a faction. And of course, Randy Orton won this Rumble. So we actually got to see a group dominate the Rumble and then win the Rumble. But sadly, that was really the only amazing thing that happened in this Rumble. For originality and creativity, this is going to get a 2.5. As I said, this was the first time a group made it far into the Rumble with the leader of that group winning. For match quality, this is going to get a 3. You can't really put a match quality less than a 3 with The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 because Randy Orton was by far the right winner here. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 2.5. It was very mid. Not much happened in this Rumble. As I said, it was just a complete domination from the 3 faction members. So overall, the 2009 Royal Rumble gets a score of 13 out of 20. The 2010 Royal Rumble was my first ever Royal Rumble watched as a kid. And I know I'm young. I'm sorry. This was the very first pay-per-view that my dad ever ordered for us. Thanks, Dad. I also didn't know it was $60. I'm so sorry. The biggest story of this Royal Rumble was Shawn Michaels trying to win so that he could face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And the one thing I've never really touched on in these videos was The Undertaker's streak. During this time, it was heavily debated whether The Undertaker was actually going to lose at WrestleMania or if he was going to win. But of course, this Royal Rumble was so special because you really could tell towards the later parts of this Rumble that Shawn Michaels was really fighting in order to win. And then finally, when he got out, just the look on his face, it was so similar to John Cena's reaction when he got eliminated from the Royal Rumble by Jey Uso in 2025. And it's so funny because I actually wrote here that I almost started crying, which I actually don't remember, but I remember seeing the look on Shawn Michaels' face, and all those memories flooded back, and I was like, oh right, he doesn't win, even though I knew he doesn't win this Rumble. Which is why for the originality / creativity, I am going to give this a 5 because there was so much emotion in that moment that really carried this Rumble. For match quality, this is going to get a 3.5 out of 5. The final 4 of this Rumble was fantastic, but it didn't hit as hard as how Shawn versus Taker did back in 2007. For the right winner category, I'm going to give this a 4 because you could have tossed up so many names that really could have won this Rumble. And the closest one being Shawn Michaels. Of course, Shawn not winning this Rumble really did a lot for the streak storyline, but Edge returning and winning was the correct decision. And for entertainment value, I am going to give this a 5 because nostalgia is a drug. So overall, the 2010 Royal Rumble gets a score of 17.5 out of 20. I'm so sorry, guys. It's nostalgia. I'm sorry. The 2011 Royal Rumble sucked. First off, this was the first 40-man Royal Rumble, and it was horrible to watch and sit through. Alberto Del Rio was trying to be pushed as the next big thing. The crowd didn't react to him at all. For originality / creativity, I'm going to give this a 1. The best thing that happened in this Royal Rumble is that John Cena and Hornswoggle, they went on a little run there. I think it was in the middle. As well, the Nexus dominating. I loved the Nexus, and I loved seeing John Cena beat the Nexus, as you can tell. For match quality, I'm going to give this a 2, and the main points really come from Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and John Cena. Those 3 really carried this Rumble. For the right winner category, I'm going to give this a 0 bro, Alberto Del Rio was a horrible winner. And Jack Swagger versus Alberto did not need to happen at WrestleMania. That is such a joke of a match. For entertainment value, I'm going to give this a 1. I do not need to explain myself. So overall, the 2011 Royal Rumble gets a score of 4 out of 20. So here come the stretch of Rumbles that absolutely sucked. 2012... nothing happened. The issue around WWE around this time is that the mid-card was being flooded with new guys. And the problem with Vince McMahon is he hated the mid-card belts. Like nowadays, Gunther being elevated by the IC title, Braun Breaker, LA Knight got even elevated by the US title as well. But back then it was like, all right, let's just shove the belt on somebody else. So like there was no steady progression from mid-card to the upper card. It was just like, all right, we're missing somebody from the upper card. Let's just throw this name in there. And this year, it was actually Sheamus, which was a good decision. And in this Rumble, we saw all 3 commentators take a spot in the Royal Rumble, which didn't matter back then because those 3 spots would have just been filled with tag team guys. Like nowadays, yeah, there's like more than 30 superstars that can enter a Rumble and people will pop for, but not back then. For originality / creativity, this is going to get a 1. And again, like the most creative thing that happened here is the commentators entered the Rumble. For match quality, I have to give this a 2.5. For the right winner category, I'm actually going to give this a 4 out of 5 because Sheamus was the correct winner because they were creating new main eventers. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 2. It was incredibly mid, even just below mid this Royal Rumble. And I just felt myself getting bored, as I've said for a lot of Royal Rumbles in the past. But this one in particular, I was like, yeah, can this just be over, please? So overall, the 2012 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 9.5 out of 20. 2013, this is going to be a fast one. It just felt very filler, this Royal Rumble. The story is that the year before, John Cena faced The Rock at WrestleMania in the once-in-a-lifetime match. But of course, it made the WWE a boatload of money, and The Rock wanted to come back for yet another payday, so they ended up putting the belt on The Rock, which meant that John Cena had to win the Royal Rumble in order to face The Rock at WrestleMania. For originality and creativity, I am going to give this a 2. For match quality, this is actually going to get it a 3.5 because we got to see some really good top-level wrestlers in there like Cesaro, Sheamus, Randy, John Cena. For the right winner category, I have to give this a 5 because the purpose of this Rumble was to give it to John Cena. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 2. In the 2010s, these Rumbles were really bad to sit through. WWE as a whole was really bad to sit through. So overall, the 2013 Royal Rumble gets a score of 12.5 out of 20. 2014. Oh God. Where do I even start with this one? The one word to describe this Royal Rumble was yes. And if you don't know the story, basically Daniel Bryan was incredibly over because he had this thing called the yes chant, which is why nowadays when a wrestler in the ring asks a question to the crowd, everyone just goes, yes, yes, yeah. It was all because of Daniel Bryan. And he was mega over because he was like the working man's champion. He didn't look like a Hulk Hogan brother style WWE wrestler. Earlier in the night, Daniel Bryan actually lost in a WWE championship match versus Bray Wyatt, which everybody in the crowd actually liked because then they were thinking, oh, Daniel Bryan's just going to come and win the Rumble, right? Nope. When the 29th entrant slid into the ring, everyone immediately started chanting Daniel Bryan because they thought that he was number 30. And Rey Mysterio came out, and I've never heard such boos for Rey. And not only did they boo Rey Mysterio on his entrance, literally whenever he did something in the Rumble, like the 619, boos rained down on him. For originality / creativity, this is going to get a 2. It was just such a mistake not including Daniel Bryan in here. However, this was Roman's first Royal Rumble, and they were pushing him to the moon, and the crowd was actually behind Roman. For match quality, this is going to get a 4 as well. Like, this Rumble wasn't bad, but it was just the wrong winner. And for the right winner category, this is going to get a 0. Daniel Bryan should have won. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 4. It was a fun Rumble to watch. Like, again, seeing the Shield in their prime, was actually a huge treat to watch. So overall, the 2014 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 10 out of 20. The 2015 Royal Rumble was probably the biggest waste of time I've ever spent watching something. The absolute only saving grace of this Royal Rumble was Bray Wyatt. In late 2014, the Wyatt family would end up breaking up, which is why now in early 2015, the Wyatt family getting back together in the Royal Rumble made the crowd go crazy. But then Harper and Rowan would just turn on Bray Wyatt, and with Bray Wyatt just being so OP, Bray just eliminated both of them, and then that was kind of it. And then what a lame way to get eliminated. Bray Wyatt got eliminated by the Big Show with a big right hand punch. Wow, that's amazing, guys. Building new stars. And the end of this match was so bad. Like, I've been saying this time and time again that normally there's 2 heels versus 1 babyface, and that is such a not repeatable formula. But my God, like, at least follow the formula. The 2 heels ended up turning on each other at some point, and Roman just eliminated the both of them. Like, what are we doing? So for originality and creativity, I am going to give this a 1, and literally all of those points just go towards the Wyatt family. For match quality, this is going to get a 1.5. It was decent wrestling, but it was so boring to watch. For the right winner category, this gets a 0. Nobody wanted Roman to win. He was being shoved down the crowd's throat. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 2.5. Very mid, but it was like, I don't know. I just wasn't entertained. But overall, the 2015 Royal Rumble gets a score of 5 out of 20. I would never watch this again. The 2016 Royal Rumble. This was the era of wrestling where I like to call the throw things at the wall and see if they stick era. In this Rumble, instead of having it be the Royal Rumble where the winner gets a title shot at WrestleMania, the WWE champion actually had to defend the WWE championship in the Rumble. You would have never guessed who made this decision, The Authority. And you would have never guessed who won this one, Triple H. Can I just skip this one, please? For originality and creativity, I have to give this a 2 because literally defending the championship in the Royal Rumble is a new original thought, but never do this again. For match quality, I'm actually going to give this a 4 because seeing the debut of AJ Styles and seeing Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, they were good wrestlers that we now see today as main eventers. For the right winner category, I'm actually going to give this a 1 because I'm going to break my own rules here. Technically, in the storyline, I should give this a 5 because Triple H, the guy who is in the Authority, won the Rumble, which was supposed to happen. It's what I did for the John Cena and The Rock Royal Rumble. But I'm going to give it a 1 because I don't like this storyline. For entertainment value, I'm going to give this a 1 because honestly, I was behind Roman Reigns during this Rumble, but I think that's because I've got the Tribal Chief glasses on. So I see the origins of the Tribal Chief and I'm like, hey, I like that guy. So overall, the 2016 Royal Rumble gets a score of 8 out of 20. The 2017 Royal Rumble was actually entertaining. And here's the thing. It felt like in the 90s, guys knew when to leave, when the torch needed to be passed to the next generation. But the WWE was going through a small problem where John Cena was transitioning into Hollywood and Roman Reigns was being shoved down your throat. And that was kind of the problem, is that Vince only looked at one guy as the top guy, not several guys as the top guy. Like nowadays, of course, we have Roman, Punk, Seth, Cody. Like we could just keep going with the list of top guys that we have. But year after year, Bray Wyatt was just being passed on. It's just like, come on, let him win a Rumble. For originality / creativity, I am going to give this a 4. This was the first Royal Rumble to be held in a stadium, and for some reason in 2017, the crowd was just so good, and this Rumble actually set up a lot of things for WrestleMania. Brock versus Goldberg, Randy versus Bray, and Taker versus Roman were all set up in this Rumble. For match quality, I am going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. For the right winner category, I am going to give this a 4 out of 5. Randy He was a very safe option, but Bray was right there. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 3. So overall, the 2017 Royal Rumble gets a score of 14.5 out of 20. 2018, this was a fun Royal Rumble. And as I was saying back in 2017, the problem with the WWE is that they didn't know how to create new stars for the future. And the WWE's idea of how to do that was NXT. Now, NXT Black and Gold was huge in 2018, but the problem with NXT Black and Gold is that it was so good as a brand. As NXT Black and Gold, it was the best wrestling show on TV. But to advance guys from the developmental to bring them up to the main roster, it was a terrible system. And that topic deserves a whole video of its own. But here in the 2018 Royal Rumble, we got some key stars from NXT Black and Gold showing up in the Royal Rumble. We got to see Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura. We got to see Adam Cole. Andrade was in there. And the commentators just put them over so much. For originality and creativity, I have to give this a 4. The NXT talent was so much fun to see, and I love how the crowd was just so behind them. Elias coming out and the crowd saying, "Walk with Elias." That is so cool to hear nowadays. For match quality, I'm going to give this a 3. It was some damn good wrestling, but there were certain entrants that didn't add anything. Miz. John Cena being in there was also cool, but yeah, his time was kind of done. Also, the Kofi spot was hilarious, landing on a stack of pancakes and Big E just chucking pancakes at Kofi's feet. It was so good. For the right winner category, I am going to give this a 4.5. Shinsuke was the right winner. However, you could have made a case for Finn Balor, taking him off on the main roster. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 3. And the only reason why is because I did skip some entrants. I'm sorry. So overall, the 2018 Royal Rumble gets a score of 14.5 out of 20. I skipped the greatest Royal Rumble ever. That Royal Rumble does not count. The 2019 Royal Rumble was actually my favorite Royal Rumble in the 2010s era. Most of the entrants, except for like 2 or 3, I got pretty hyped for. Jeff Hardy, Big E, Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano entering his first Royal Rumble ever. Dean Ambrose is starting to look a lot more like Jon Moxley here. For originality / creativity, I am going to give this a 2. Once again, the changing of the generations with NXT coming up, but my real problem with this Royal Rumble is that it set up no matches for WrestleMania other than the winner. For match quality, this is going to get a 4. This is where most of the points come in. It was a damn near perfect Royal Rumble within the match itself. We got to see Johnny wrestling in this Royal Rumble, as I said earlier, and we also got to see Drew McIntyre in his first Royal Rumble back since getting released in the early 2010s. For the right winner category, I am going to give this a 4. As I said earlier, my pick was Braun Strowman, but Seth Rollins was a perfectly fine winner. And for entertainment value, this is gonna get a 4. Every new Royal Rumble, I tried to see the progression of each superstar throughout the year. And in this Royal Rumble, you really got to see the current main eventers being elevated throughout 2018 to 2019. So overall, the 2019 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 14 out of 20. The 2020 Royal Rumble is my favorite Royal Rumble ever. And it's not because I'm a new head. It is simply because that this Rumble was so interesting from beginning to end. Brock Lesnar entered the Royal Rumble as the WWE champion because he felt like no one else was on his level. Plus, this Royal Rumble had the greatest return in WWE history with Edge coming back. For originality / creativity, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. From entrance 2 to 13, Brock Lesnar eliminated every single one of them. Brock entered in at number 1. He would have a 1v1 wrestling match versus whoever came to the ring, and he would just throw them out. And to say that he had a wrestling match with them is an overstatement, because sometimes he would hit someone with a suplex and then just knock them out of the ring. But then Drew McIntyre came out and eliminated Brock with a Claymore, putting Drew McIntyre so incredibly over. And then Edge's return being at number 21. That is so unpredictable because normally surprise entrants happen towards the 30 mark, 28, 27, 29, 30. So with Edge coming out at number 21, it gave him time to prove himself. For match quality, this is going to get a 4.5 out of 5. Just a simply amazing match, but my really only deduction here is that sure, there was one or two tag teams that entered into this Rumble. It made those spots kind of useless. But again, WWE didn't really have anybody else to fill those shoes. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. You maybe could have made a case for Edge, but Drew getting that elimination on Brock Lesnar was so good. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. I was entertained throughout all of this Royal Rumble. I wasn't looking at the clock constantly saying, has the 2 minutes hit yet? Has the 1.5 minute hit yet for the next entrant? So overall, the 2020 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 19.5 out of 20. The 2021 Royal Rumble sucked. This was the COVID era, so I don't blame the WWE, but the fake "this is awesome" chants? What are we doing here? Too many random things happening, and the late capitalization on Edge's win, it was just so bad. For originality and creativity, this gets a 0 because it was in the Performance Center. For match quality, this is gonna get a 1. There was no big, huge spots. Like, what was kind of cool was Randy hid underneath the ring until the final 2, and that was a huge callback from the previous year's WrestleMania, Edge versus Randy, but it was so weird. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 3. You could have made a case for Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, but sure, Edge winning, it was a late capitalization of the previous year, but nah, I don't know. For entertainment value, this is gonna get a 1. I was not entertained throughout this. It was just a drag to sit through. The misuse of Omos in this Royal Rumble was horrible. Omos was paired up with AJ Styles. I don't know why they did that, but every single time AJ was gonna get thrown out of the Royal Rumble, Omos would just catch AJ and throw him back in. And then eventually Braun Strowman, he was going to eliminate AJ through one area, and then he turned his attention to the other rope so that Omos wouldn't be there. Wow, that was so good, guys. So overall, the 2021 Royal Rumble gets a score of 4 out of 20. The 2022 Royal Rumble was just confusing. Similarly to how John Cena won back in 2011, the purpose of this Royal Rumble was to set up Brock Lesnar to face Roman at WrestleMania. And Vince had to jump through so many hoops in order to make this happen. It was insane. Brock Lesnar earlier in the night would lose the WWE Championship to Bobby Lashley. And then Brock Lesnar would win back the WWE Championship on the road to WrestleMania in order to face Roman in a title versus title unification match at WrestleMania. From entrance 1 to 10, nothing happened. And then finally Omos appears. Come on, guys, we gotta eliminate him. Come on. For originality / creativity, this gets a 1. And the only reason why I'm giving it a 1 is because Bad Bunny as an entrant was pretty cool. For match quality, this is going to get a 3 out of 5. The wrestling at this point is above average. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 3 out of 5. AJ Styles and Big E could have won this Rumble, but Brock Lesnar was being set up for WrestleMania. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 1 out of 5. This was the last Royal Rumble that I watched. I don't know why I skipped it, but I was kind of like, I want to see Cody win again. So overall, the 2022 Royal Rumble gets a score of 8 out of 20. The 2023 Royal Rumble had one name written all over it: Cody Rhodes. At WrestleMania 38, Cody Rhodes would return to the WWE and enter a 3-match feud with Seth Rollins. And before that third match in the Hell in a Cell, Cody Rhodes tore his pec working out, yet he still wrestled with it. And just before the 2023 Royal Rumble, the WWE started putting out these vignettes of Cody Rhodes saying, "I'm coming back," which did put a little bit of a ruin on that surprise, but it was kind of clear going into the Rumble who was going to win it. For originality / creativity, this is going to get a 4, mainly because this set up a lot of matches for WrestleMania. Seth versus Logan, Dom versus Ray, Finn versus Edge. For match quality, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. Just Gunther alone being in this Royal Rumble, he is so good. Just, oh my goodness. Starting off this Royal Rumble would be Sheamus versus Gunther, which was technically a rematch from the 2022 Clash at the Castle match that they had. It was just solid. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. Cody Rhodes was the right winner. For entertainment value, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. It was just a little bit weird how Cody Rhodes, he spoiled his Royal Rumble return, but he also then came out at number 30. It was just so weird. Like, I expected him to come out at number like 15, maybe even number 20, even 21, just like Edge. But yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So overall, the 2023 Royal Rumble gets a score of 18 out of 20. The 2024 Royal Rumble had one name written all over it: Cody Rhodes, with a small asterisk beside CM Punk. Cody Rhodes failed to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. I was literally there. Like, I went with the sole purpose of seeing Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns. But talking about the Rumble itself, people were clamoring for the rematch of Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania 40. And oh my goodness, was this Royal Rumble insane. We saw some key NXT talents come up. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes, they are so good. However, this was CM Punk's first Royal Rumble since returning to the WWE. For originality / creativity, this is going to get a 4, mainly because this was the first back-to-back winner since Stone Cold. For match quality, this is going to get a 3. The wrestling in this Rumble was just so good. For the right winner category, this is going to get a 5 out of 5. Cody being the right winner was incredibly earned this year more than the previous, because he came out at number 15 instead of 30. And for entertainment value, this is going to get a 4 out of 5. Pat McAfee spot in the Royal Rumble. I don't care. You guys don't like fun. I don't know what it is about the IWC. You guys don't like fun. And if you don't know what happened, basically Pat McAfee was on commentary that night. He would enter the Royal Rumble. He would come face to face with Omos and Braun Breaker. And then Pat McAfee would jump onto the ring apron over the top rope. Then he would get back into the ring saying, "No, I could do this." And then he would eliminate himself. He was done. I thought that was funny. So overall, the 2024 Royal Rumble gets a score of 16 out of 20. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally made it. The 2025 Royal Rumble. And I have a lot to say about this Royal Rumble. For starters, it felt like every single entrant was important. We started off with Rey versus Penta. We had Roman, Punk, Braun Breaker, John Cena, and we also had some surprises. IShowSpeed being the star of this Royal Rumble. He was able to come in as a special guest entrant, replacing Tozawa, and even got an elimination on Otis. But then he got speared so hard by Braun Breaker. That was so painful to watch. Joe Hendry also had a spot in this Royal Rumble, but since this Rumble was so stacked, it kind of felt like Joe Hendry was a passing thought. I also want to say, jumping into this ranking system, this is 100% recency bias. Like, to the T. Starting with originality / creativity, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. CM Punk eliminating both Seth and Roman from the Rumble, only to then get eliminated by Logan Paul. And then on the outside, they had this massive brawl with Seth double stomping on Roman's head, only for Punk and Seth just to duke it out on the outside. Roman eventually got involved. It was crazy. And John Cena being eliminated from this Royal Rumble, just the amount of shock that everybody had here was crazy. The only thing I can really compare that to was Shawn Michaels back in 2010 when he got eliminated from the Rumble. His breakdown was a little bit more crazy because he would get back into the Rumble and start begging the refs to just let him back in. You could just hear the pain in his voice. But seeing John Cena's face at the end of this Royal Rumble, I'm going to predict it now. At some point during this year, John Cena is going to turn Triple H heel. And what I mean by that is that technically right now, Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens are heels, but they have a reason for being a heel. And I think that this is John Cena's first moment of being a heel. And if it happens at WrestleMania, then it's going to happen very similarly to how it happened in the Royal Rumble, where John Cena is going to get pinned. He's going to come face to face with Cody Rhodes, if that's who he's going to face at WrestleMania. And instead of embracing Cody like how John embraced Jay, John is just going to walk past Cody, walk to the back, and then the Raw after WrestleMania is going to be must watch. As for match quality, this is going to get a 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to be honest, there was no spots that made me go, whoa, this is amazing. It was very basic wrestling with some pretty heavy hitter spots. There was actually a spot later on in the Royal Rumble where there was a little bit of a hiccup, right? Logan Paul was going on a bit of a rampage, and then LA Knight wanted to get his moment in versus Logan Paul. But the problem is that when LA Knight was doing that, that is when Damian was supposed to throw Drew out of the ring, and they kind of just bumped into each other. It looked very awkward, and Drew felt like the bump took away from the actual elimination. And reportedly, it made Drew so upset. What is so funny is how hypocritical the IWC is. Literally, earlier in the night, we were trashing on the dirt sheets because all the dirt sheets were saying that Alexa is not returning at the Royal Rumble, and then she returned at the Royal Rumble. And then later on that night, Drew's throwing a fit in the back. We have to believe it, right? For the right winner category, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Jey Uso was not the first on everybody's bingo card, but I love that they surprised us with this win. Clearly, he is so over, and no matter how uncoordinated I am doing this, it's still so much fun to do. But my choices for this Royal Rumble were John Cena, and then CM Punk, and then Roman Reigns. Jey Uso wasn't even a thought, but it was very well deserved. We're going to have to see what the aftermath is like because we have seen Jey versus Gunther multiple times in the past. So we have no idea how a WrestleMania stage will change that. And for entertainment value, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 simply because I was so surprised how quick this Rumble was passing. In previous Royal Rumbles, as I've said, it feels like it's a struggle to get to the next entrant, but I was telling my wife, who was sitting right beside me, we're already getting the next entrant? So overall, the 2025 Royal Rumble is going to get a score of 15.5 out of 20. So there you have it. All of the men's Royal Rumbles ranked and watched through thoroughly. But I do want to thank you all for watching this video. Just from this video alone, I have a couple of more video ideas, so definitely subscribe to watch those when they come out in the future. Also, leave a comment if you disagree with any of my Royal Rumble rankings. Maybe there was a Royal Rumble that you loved and I just completely trashed on. Please leave it in the comments below. I would love to have a discussion with you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day. Peace.